This week on the Game Informer show, Cal Hilliard gets into the nitty-gritty of survival horror action game Cronos: The New Dawn.
Silent Hill 2 is still its best game, I think pretty easily, which is like they were working with the template of an already successful game, and then they just did a really good job with it, where this is like they were doing something wholly original, and overall it's pretty good, but there are still some like pain points along the way.
Alex Van Aken and I break down the big updates coming to Valve's third-person shooter MOBA, Deadlock.
I look at a MOBA nowadays, I'm like, okay, here's a Winston, you know, here it's the same with the Overwatch games where I'm like, you kind of made the archetypes that
here's our
already
Tracer,
existed. Yeah. Or you play a MOBA, it's like, okay, here's our Ashe, here's our Teemo, here's our Ari. Like, these are our characters. And I like that so far Deadlock, the characters have felt wildly their own.
We talk about the recent Trails in the Sky FC demo and whether this is the place to start with the giant RPG series. And we catch up with Kirby and the Forgotten Land's latest Switch 2 DLC, Star-Crossed World. The show's about to start, but please consider subscribing to the channel, liking the video, and consider picking up a physical magazine subscription.
Hey, welcome back to the Game Informer Show, a weekly podcast covering the video game industry. Join us every week for a discussion about the latest gaming news, reviews, and exclusive reveals alongside Game Informer staff and special guests from around the industry. I'm one of your hosts today, Alex Van Aken. Today I'm joined by Kyle Hilliard. How you doing, Kyle?
Hey, what's up? I'm doing good.
Yeah. It's Silksong week. We are recording this before Silksong, but there's a lot happening behind the scenes. And thankfully, we've got Eric Van Allen here with us to help us get through all of the topics today.
We're alive, we're awake, we're doing things this morning. We all
are.
Good.
Yes. This is a very early morning recording for us, so apologies if, my voice is extra sultry today, listener. Today we're going to be talking about Cronos: The New Dawn. We've got our review by Kyle. I'm going to be talking a very small amount about Borderlands 4. Trails in the Sky first chapter. Eric's been playing that a bit. Deadlock, Kirby on Switch 2, and more. Guys, welcome to the show. How we doing?
Good. I'm so old because you're like, sorry, this is so early for me. I've been up for like 4 hours.
Yeah, you're old. See,
like...
I'm not old enough. I can still sleep through the night, whereas I know, people cut from your cloth are a little more, you got to pee every 2 hours,
Okay, I'm almost there, looking, knock on wood, right? No, I just, at a certain point in the last year, it's been 6:30 wake ups for me. It's been good though. Feels good.
Love it. Well, let's get into the show proper. Of course, if you want to support Game Informer, head over to gameinformer.com/subscribe and consider picking up a print or digital magazine subscription. That's the best way to support us. Second best way is to share the show with a friend, whether you're watching on YouTube or on a podcast app of your choice, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, really whatever, Pocket Casts, we're there. We'd love it if you shared the show with a friend. That really helps us out. Let's waste no more time though. Kyle, you've been playing Cronos: The New Dawn, the next game from Bloober after they put out the Silent Hill 2 remake. I feel like there's a lot of eyes on this game. They put out in recent years the Medium, which was kind of released a mixed reception, and then obviously Silent Hill 2 remake really well received, I think, by players and press alike. And now this is their next game, and I think there's a lot of eyes on it. What did you think about Cronos? And can you kind of give us a primer?
Yeah. Have you guys seen 12 Monkeys, the Terry Gilliam film with Bruce Willis and Brad Pitt?
I haven't seen it, but I'm aware of it.
Okay. Yeah. It's a great movie about a pandemic that happens, and there's time travelers who keep going back in time to try to figure out what happened and hopefully prevent it. And that's basically what Cronos is. I think they have mentioned 12 Monkeys in talking about the game as an inspiration, but it's it is one of those things where it's playing it, I was like, this looks like 12 Monkeys. This is clearly inspired by 12 Monkeys. And I say that in a complimentary way because it is a cool movie that has a lot of interesting stuff in it that hasn't been like used a lot recently,
Sure,
if that makes
yeah.
sense. Like when it came out, it was like I think really appreciated and loved, and they did do like a show adaptation, like I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago or something like that. I didn't watch the show, but anyway, it's kind of moot if you haven't seen the movie. But the premise of the game is there was this insane pandemic that happened, and this sort of like time traveling religious cult formed that is obsessed with going back in time to try and figure out what happened and how to prevent it. And they do this by like pinpointing important people who might have known something and like literally going back in time and stealing their memories and like bringing them to the future. Like it's a cool sci-fi premise. Like I like the idea of it a lot. I ended up giving the game a 7.75,
Okay.
which is like a solid score. Like my headline is like solid survival horror. And like the shortcomings are that like you start with that premise, which is a really cool idea, but by the end I was just kind of like lost, kind of confused, and just not that emotionally engaged with what was happening. Like it's just a little too
Heady?
Weird's not the right word. What was that, Alex?
Heady? It sounds like
no, not heady. Like I actually would have liked it if it was more heady and more sort of like maybe even ambiguous, but it's just ended up kind of being like delivering like twists that I just like weren't landing for me at the end. And like
sure.
The characters, like the primary characters, like the character you play as and one other character, they're part of the collective. They're travelers who are the ones who go through time. They're like wearing diving suits basically the whole game. Not even basically, they are. Like and you can't see their faces. Like, and so the primary characters like do a lot of like hand acting. You know? So it's like it's just hard to get emotionally engaged when you never see
a face,
these characters' faces and stuff. And then the humans that you do interact with, I mean, the performances are kind of, they're like fine. You know, like it's kind of where I'm at with it. So that's kind of the story and the concept, which is like cool concept, doesn't fully deliver on it, but there's heavy like Resident Evil 4 and specifically like Dead Space inspiration here that I think shines through. Like structurally, mechanically, balance wise, I think it is a good survival horror game. Like it's if you've played and enjoyed those games, like you kind of know what to expect.
Sure.
You know, you're counting your bullets, you're making sure to save at the right places. You have to manage your inventory. You have to choose whether you want to have more inventory slots or if you want like a stronger suit or if you want like better guns and stuff like that. And that stuff I think is good. Like that stuff works well. It's very familiar. It's not particularly innovative.
Sure.
But it's like I was in the mood for that, right? It's like it's been a while since I feel like I've played like, other than like, you know, the Resident Evil 4 remake and the Dead Space remake, it's been a while since I've played like an original survival horror game that feels good mechanically, right? Like there's stuff, we wanted that from Callisto Protocol, but it just didn't really pan out. You know, it just wasn't that great a game. Like this I like more than Callisto Protocol, you know? And it also has a thing where like you can hold down the trigger on all your weapons to get a stronger shot.
That's fine.
That doesn't use extra ammo. And in the context of like a horror game, that works really well because like I really maxed out the starting pistol. I really liked using that pistol a lot. And you have a lot of moments where these monsters are like, you know, ambling towards you like a zombie and you're holding down the trigger, just like hoping that they don't attack you before it goes off. And that kind of stuff is cool. And that's like a cool mechanic that I wouldn't mind seeing in other like horror games.
That's cool.
Yeah, I would say it's Bloober's second best game.
Okay.
And it is Bloober because
I said
Alex,
Blooper.
you misspoke. I said Blooper.
Alex said that earlier, and I was like not gonna stop you because you were on a roll, but I was like, it's Bloober.
Well, the reason I even mentioned it all is because my opening sentence in my review is like they kind of have a weird name. It almost sounds like the Mario squid enemy, the Blooper.
Yes, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but like they've made exclusively horror games for like the last 10 years or something like that. Like they are a horror studio. But I think Silent Hill 2 is still its best game. I think pretty easily, which is like they were working with the template of an already successful game, and then they just did a really good job with it. Where this is like they were doing something wholly original, and overall it's pretty good, but there are still some like pain points along the way. So it's like. I would, like I said, I think it's Bloober's second best game, but it's it's kind of far behind Silent Hill 2, I think, but still better. I still enjoyed it more. I didn't play a ton of Layers of Fear. I didn't play a ton of the Medium because I just wasn't really engaged in any of those games. Like I just sort of lost interest pretty quickly. Where this one, I was like, oh yeah, even if I wasn't on the review, I think I would have seen it to the end because I just it was like fun to move through the world. And it was like, oh, I haven't had a Resident Evil 4 experience like this in a while. That wasn't a remake of something that I already liked.
Sure. Yeah. The concept seems cool. I do like the character design, although I totally get why you wouldn't really be able to resonate with just
it's a cool
like a hulking mechanical dude.
It is a cool design. I agree with you there. It looks cool, and I would have been fine with that, except that they do try to have moments where it's like, let's have empathy for these characters of what's going on, and they're saying something really intense about themselves, and it just cuts to a big metal globe, and they're just kind of doing this, and I'm like, I'm sorry, it's just not working for me.
That's totally
Isaac takes his mask off in Dead Space when it's time to feel something. You know?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I just envisioned it kind of opening. There's kind of a scene that goes down the helmet a little bit, and it's like, oh, is that? I just thought it was cracking a pistachio. Eventually, that'll open up.
Cracking a pistachio,
and there'll be
honestly, maybe there's if you New Game Plus it there, and there is New Game Plus, by the way, which is, I know some people like to know that, but if you New Game Plus it on the harder difficulty, maybe there's a secret ending or something where it's a she, by the way, it's a woman, she takes off it opens like a pistachio, to use your terminology, just cracks it open.
It's the Metroid ending. It's like, surprise, there was a person inside Metroid all along.
Yeah. Where the exception here is from the moment she speaks, you're like, oh yeah, that's a woman. Oh. It's not like a twist or anything.
That's cool though. I mean, this is the set design and the character design that. It's kind of definitely had it on my radar for those reasons. I think the vibe and the atmosphere looks really neat, and to hear that it kind of hits some of those survival horror highs, while not all of it. It does. It's appealing to me for sure.
It's a statement I really try to avoid in writing reviews because it's you could say it about literally any game, but it's if you're a fan of the genre, you would like this.
Sure.
That's there's that statement doesn't really add anything for anybody. Ultimately, is kind of how I feel about it.
But it's not a bad survival horror game.
Yeah, but let me use that statement here and say that if you like survival horror and you are in the mood for one as we're approaching October here, it's solid. You will it's an execution on a genre that's pretty good, but it has its shortcomings.
Sure.
If that makes sense, but if you want to have scary monsters ambling towards you while you count your bullets, it executes on that well. It does do that well.
Nice. Yeah. Eric, are you a survival horror guy? I can't remember.
I really like some survival horror, but I'm very picky about it.
Yeah.
I found that I never really grew up playing Resident Evil or anything. They just weren't games that were on my radar, so I've never really sat down and played a lot of those games. But oddly enough, games like Signalis and Mouthwashing,
so good.
All kind of opened my eyes a little bit to especially the indie horror scene and a lot of really cool stuff that's being done there.
Crow Country is another one to throw in there. Crow Country's
great.
I like Crow Country a lot.
And oddly enough, in college, I have very specific memories of playing Dead Space 1 and 2 over and over again. It was a game that you could, if you were good at it and you could, play it pretty fast, you could get through it in a weekend maybe. And so there were a lot of weekends where somebody was just playing through Dead Space or I was playing through Dead Space. I've probably beaten that game maybe 4 or 5 times at least. And
I love Dead Space 1 and 2.
Very fond memories of those games. So yeah.
If you're like, gosh, I miss Dead Space. This is this will scratch that itch.
Cool.
Dead Space is the one I think they most pulled from in terms of their inspiration.
Do you stomp? Is there a stomp button?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Okay. Yeah.
Well, cool. That is Cronos: The New Dawn. Thanks for sharing your review thoughts, Kyle. I can very briefly talk about Borderlands 4. I have the game, and there is a very specific part that we can talk about in the preview the final preview section of this game, and that is the interior of Fortress Andromeda, which you might have seen in some of our cover story content. If you saw like a pretty towering white walled fortress in our cover story gameplay that we were showing off, that's this section. And I'm not really going to get into the content of that section because I'd rather just talk about what I think about like the mechanics of the game and how it feels. I'm really enjoying Borderlands 4 so far. It feels fun to play. It feels the weapon and the gunplay feels similar to Destiny to me, and they're very complimentary. There's a certain just gun feel that it has that is really satisfying. I'm really enjoying kind of finding new weapons and kind of getting back into that Borderlands loop after not playing the series for so long. I skipped on 3, but I played the hell out of 1 and 2 and played some of the pre-sequel, which I didn't love. But it feels good to have this loop back, and very much like the Borderlands style, and I kind of mean that in terms of like all encompassing the writing, of course, the art style, that sort of thing. I think this Borderlands game within the Fortress of Andromeda, it feels like there's higher stakes, I feel like, in this Borderlands that you kind of feel even in this early section, that I really, really like. It's so far in this area, there's been like a good sense of like quips and humor, but also like, oh, you're like fighting.
I was going to ask if you're laughing. Like, is it funny?
Yeah.
Does it feel,
In this preview section, it's more combat forward.
Okay.
But there are quips here and there from the characters that I do enjoy. I have to be careful about what I can and can't say, because I agreed to an embargo for this. But
embargo jokes is crazy.
Embargo jokes, yeah. I can tell you the setup, but no punchlines. No, imagine that was in the embargo notes. But yeah, I'm really excited to talk about the full game because I have a lot of thoughts. But I just wanted to quickly check in and kind of say that out of this section that I can talk about, I'm really enjoying it. And
all right.
I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited to play more. I'm excited to talk more. And I'm excited for you guys to kind of get your hands on it, hopefully. And I want to have a bigger conversation once this thing launches.
I played 1 and enjoyed it, right? Like I definitely beat 1 and had a good time with it. And then 2 came out and I only dabbled with it. And it was also like my daughter had just been born, so I was like busy,
sure.
And then every other one I've like just kind of totally has flown by me. Even the Tiny Tina one was a couple of years ago, which was basically another Borderlands game. Mm-hmm. But something about this one, I think I'm going to at least like engage with it and start it and see if it hooks me in, because it's been a while since I've gotten into that loop with Borderlands, really since the first one.
I'm playing as the Gravatar, Harlow, I think is her name. And she kind of like...
Is that like a Drivatar?
Exactly, yeah, Drivatar, yeah.
Okay.
She's essentially like, I think in our cover story content, they described Harlow as this space Jedi sort of character. And so I'm playing part of her spec that has these gravity orbs that you can trap people in and like fling them around. If you just like... So you press... I'm playing on keyboard and mouse. You press F and it uses your skill... And you kind of trap them in this floating orb and they're up in space, and you can aim around and press F again multiple times to like slam them into other people, into environmental hazards. You can even like fling them off cliffs in certain cases. So I'm really enjoying it. I want to go back and play some of I think they've got like a really good set of Vault Hunters based on kind of what I've seen. And I'm excited to kind of do that Borderlands loop of making multiple characters, I think Amen is the guy who has the 2 big axes, and he's kind of like the big bruiser of this game. I think he's called a Forge Knight in this game. That's his archetype. But yeah, I can't wait to play this with friends. I'm just playing solo right now, so Yeah, a lot more thoughts once we can kind of talk about the full game, but that is Borderlands 4 so far. It's coming out very soon.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, everything's coming out very soon.
What is
we're
the
in
release? I will look it up if you don't have it on hand.
I can. If you happen to get it before me, that'd be great.
September 12th.
There you go.
Oh,
yeah.
that's really soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Too soon.
But yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking about this more. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be very good.
October 3rd for Switch 2, which if it runs well on Switch 2, that's a good Switch 2 game, I feel like.
Yeah. I don't know. I have no knowledge about the Switch 2 port at all. I wish I could be more helpful with that, but yeah. Well, Eric, speaking of games that are coming up in this September timeframe, Trails in the Sky first chapter. You've been playing the demo, is that correct?
Yeah. I've just been playing the publicly available demo. Figured we should probably say something about it on the podcast at some point, because for those who might know me from outside venues, I'm a bit of an RPG sicko. I enjoy playing the RPG from time to time. And Trails has always been a series that seemed a bit unapproachable, is maybe the best way to say it. There's so many of them, and there's so many different arcs, and they're all distinct, but then they all link together, and they all ultimately culminate in an even larger thing. And I've always liked the idea of playing Trails, the thought of playing Trails, but the actual inroads to doing it up to this point have been, well, you should probably go start at the beginning. You should go all the way back. And I think this is much in the way that Yakuza 0 ended up bringing Yakuza to a wider audience here in the West. I feel like Trails in the Sky FC, or it should be called Trails in the Sky First Chapter, Remake, whatever you want to call it.
Because to back up just a little bit, Eric, this is a remake of the first Trails
The very
game,
first
right?
Trails game, yes.
Okay, got it.
Which is basically the starting point. If you want to get really technical, if you want to, appreciate the series the way it came out, chronologically and all that, this is where it started, is Trails FC and then SC, which I believe the deep lore is that it was supposed to be one big game, and then they broke it up into two. My understanding after talking to some people who have played the series and have seen that stuff is that basically it is one big contiguous story that got broken up into kind of two parts, and that makes up the start of the larger Trails saga. So Trails in the Sky, I'm really, really enjoying it. I did not think I would enjoy it as much as I am right now, but it became this thing where every night I would kind of, I'm going to play half an hour, I'm going to play an hour. It's my little treat to myself before I go to sleep. I'm going to go put another hour into the demo, and I got a surprising amount of the way. I mean, I finished the demo, but I did all of the side quests. I leveled all my characters up. I was fiddling with the orb mints, which is this game's skill system that's all about kind of laying these orbs out and then getting bonuses for how you've laid them out. If you lay out a certain number of fire ones in a certain order, you get better fire stuff and all that. But I think what really does it for me is that the scale of it is really appealing. You play as Estelle Bright, who is this young trainee bracer, and a bracer is kind of a mercenary for hire that works for the people. If you've ever seen the anime Hunter x Hunter, Hunter Cross Hunter, or just Hunter x Hunter, whatever you want to call it, it's kind of like being a hunter in the Hunters Guild there. Hi, say hello to my cat. He decided he wanted to be part of the podcast.
Hi, Poe.
Yeah, that's Poe. So a bracer kind of does odd jobs, which usually involves some level of danger, taking on monsters, doing something that your average citizen might not be able to do. And so Estelle wants to be just like her father, Cassius, who is a renowned bracer. She also has an adoptive brother, Joshua, who you meet at the start of this whole thing. And it follows their journey to kind of become bracers, but also they gradually get wrapped up in a much broader story But the thing I like about Trails, at least so far in the prologue, which is the extent of the demo, and the demo does carry save data forward. So you basically start the game and it carries forward into the game. We love that when an RPG does that. It's the best thing ever. It does a really good job of making it feel like this is a small town of Roland that you are getting to know the people in. You're doing side quests for all of them. You're talking to them. You're learning about their troubles or their little kind of beefs that they might have with each other, or just little quirks. And then you're helping them solve things. You're taking care of things. You're finding a lost cat. You're some kid dropped a shiny stone somewhere and you need to go find where he dropped it. And that might sound like really irritating to some people, but the combination of it being so charming and also everything kind of having that feeling of feeding a broader narrative, that you're kind of learning something about the world, that you're building up this place, that this place feels a little bit more lived in. I think one of my main issues when I look at something like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is that it's a really big game that you don't always get to spend a lot of time getting to know each area, especially when you get into like the Gongaga parts of that game and stuff like that. You're kind of moving through story beats at a very rapid pace, and all of the side quests kind of get sequestered away. And it reminds me of when I was playing through Final Fantasy 14 and doing some of the expansion stuff there. You kind of go through, you do your MSQ, you play all the main story quests, but then there's so many little side quests that, you know, add bits of story that tell you about the people there, that give you something to latch onto. And Trails is doing that for me. I really like when an RPG finds that space to do that sort of thing. Xenoblade 3 is another great example of a game that really gives you room to get to know each area if you want to. And so far, Trails is doing that for me. And I love the character design. I think the combat's really fun, really interesting. If you want good turn-based combat, it's got some really cool, interesting ideas there. It is the original system. There is an action combat system, which is kind of, it's a little bit like Metaphor, where you can bonk things on the head in the overworld and dodge out of the way of them. And then if you build up the stun meter, you can launch into turn-based combat with an advantage. So maybe you get a follow-up attack, or all of your turns line up and stuff like that. You get a good advantage to start it off. I think that is the one part of the game that doesn't feel as great for me, oddly enough, and it's one of the larger additions to this game that did not exist in the original, outside of the new graphics and stuff like that. But having an action combat system is something that later Trails games, I understand, have done. It doesn't always feel great. It's a very kind of hit, roll, hit, roll, and you do this over and over and over again. I kind of wish that felt just a little bit more varied and interesting, but that's like my only complaint in 8 hours of a prologue demo, and really taking my time and running around and doing stuff and really enjoying it. It's a good time. And I think if you're an RPG fan that has wanted to play Trails for a while, I can only speak from a Trails newbie standpoint, but this feels like I'm getting a really good, solid intro into what these games are and what this world is. So I'm happy. I think, again, this reminds me a lot of Yakuza 0, where a series is getting its kind of moment to break through in the mainstream consciousness, and I hope it pans out.
That's awesome. Kyle, have you ever checked out that series, Trails?
No, I mean, I've always been intimidated. The reception has always been like, these are really good, but like they're really good because there's a lot here and you got to start from the beginning, right? Like that's how you get the full experience. It's always been kind of like what I would hear from like Kim Wallace, you know, our former sort of RPG specialist here at Game Informer. That was sort of always her pitch for that series. She was like, it's really great. I give him great review scores, but like, I'm like, yeah, I don't have the time to invest in that. But it's like, yeah, like the Yakuza 0 sort of angle, I think is interesting, of like, this is a way to get into it and see if it's worth your time, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like that's always a fallacy sometimes when people recommend games because I've heard it before, and I've even been guilty of this myself, and that's why I pointed out is you talk about a series like Yakuza or Final Fantasy 14. Those are kind of the two touchstones that I think are very close to Trails, in that people speak from, I have invested this amount of time, I've played this many games, and they keep building on themselves, they keep growing, and so you end up recommending from a point of, oh, you won't believe how it all gets here. But then to a newcomer, that can make it suddenly feel like there's a lot of required reading before you get to the good parts. So if you take something away from my recommendation today, it's that you don't really have to wait for the good parts in Trails FC. I think if the idea of a Hunter x Hunter RPG, if the idea of a smaller scale, quaint, charming thing that's going to grow over time is appealing to you, then that is something that's worth it, because I do think it's not a case of you have to play these games for it to get good. It's that these games will just get increasingly good the more you play them. It's like reading a long book series, like if you picked up Mistborn or something like that, or Wheel of Time, and you start reading, it's like, oh, the actual book is good, and the further in I get, the more it's building on itself and picking up steam from the good stuff. So
Yeah.
I definitely recommend it in that light if you want something like that. The flip side of this is there was a quote going around from the president of Falcom basically saying, well, we kind of have to do SC. Like it doesn't make sense for us to do FC and not SC. Everything beyond that sounds like it's going to be in response to fan reception.
What are these acronyms you're using?
Yeah,
What-
I should be clear. FC stands for first chapter. SC stands for second chapter. And then there is
Okay.
TC/3C, which is third chapter, and that kind of completes the Trails in the Sky arc. And there are also other arcs. There's I'm sorry, Trails fans, if I get some of this wrong. There's the Crossbell arc, which I like to refer to as the cop arc, because you play characters in that region, and I believe you play essentially fantasy cops in that one. And then there's Cold Steel, which is almost like Persona-esque. And I think you go to like an academy or something. And then there are some other games that take place after all three of those, that kind of wrap the whole thing up, bring all their regions together, and then do these big story beats out of that. But that's like big picture stuff. Way down at the bottom, at the foundation, there is Trails in the Sky, and then FCSC. 3C, I don't know. And that's first chapter, second chapter, third chapter. So yeah, I think this is a good starting place, and it sounds like you're going to get a pretty good experience if you jump in here. And I think this series has needed that for a while, because up to this point as well, you kind of had to play it on PC. I don't think Trails in the Sky, I think it was on Vita through the PSP stuff that you could do maybe, but PC was always the way I was told. Like you kind of got to play it on Steam Deck or something, and it was a pretty solid Steam Deck game. But I think this coming out, and again, like Yakuza 0 is the easy comparison, establishing an easy way to say this is the one you go play, this is where you start, and then you just go numbered after that. I think that's a great thing. So yeah, I'm really happy for this.
Awesome. Well, wildly shifting gears, pivoting very hard.
Switching lanes, if you will.
Switching lanes.
Yeah.
Are we switching to mid lane or green or
I don't know.
blue or
I saw a
yellow?
Victor and a Bebop there, so I don't know if we want to go there.
Yeah,
it seems
maybe
like a bad
not.
time.
Yeah. Kyle, you've heard of Deadlock.
I'm sorry, I had already started my nap. I apologize.
You already started tuning out, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. You've heard of Deadlock, right?
I played very, very little of it.
Okay.
Its first like beta. Yeah, I think I played like the tutorial and like a match. Yeah.
Cool.
And I was done.
And you're done. Yes. This is very much
That was
not a
good.
Kyle
I was like,
game. This is
very
very
much
much
not a Kyle
a Eric and Alex game, though. Deadlock.
A van game, if you will.
A van game, yes. Deadlock is a third-person shooter MOBA from Valve directly. and it's been in development for a while. There was like the whole sort of debacle when it first came out, where like people were kind of just like sharing a lot about the game because of like a very poorly worded kind of embargo thing in the game.
It was a not so secret that Deadlock existed, and basically it, as things do, as you add more people to something, eventually it's going to leak, and it did. And there was a whole controversy over, oh, were you supposed to say that Deadlock was a thing and not say Deadlock was a thing? That was a whole weird period. But yes, Deadlock was something that was supposed to kind of gradually expand in the background, I guess, and then got the light shown on it. And now everyone is aware that Deadlock is a alpha, beta type thing that Valve is working on. That's basically its new MOBA.
Yeah. And to the point where like you still, if you want to play with friends, have to invite them. Like a active user has to invite another active user to play the game.
But not in the Dota universe, right? Like it's
not in the Dota.
Completely original.
They finally, I say this as a Dota fan, they finally stopped trying to make a new multiplayer game in the Dota universe.
Yeah, this is set in a sort of like alternate timeline of New York filled with demons and ghosts and that sort of thing, and spirits. And there was a big update. That's why we're talking about it today. Eric and I kind of played, similar to Kyle, we played it when it first came out, still very early on in its development. And now, what, a year later or so, roughly?
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah. There was a big new update this past month where they dropped 6 new characters. Earlier in the year, they had kind of changed up the structure of the map in a big way. This update also refreshed like the item shop and such in a way that actually makes sense now. But yeah, Eric and I have been playing a lot of Deadlock. It's kind of been our primary driver for like what, the last 2 weeks or so, last week and a half, you know?
Yeah, it's been something that, you know, we log on and someone on Discord says, hey, want to push some lanes? And we're like, all right. I think it's really interesting to see this because I had been playing Deadlock, like you said, and I think I was at a point where, so I'm coming from a Team Fortress 2 and Dota 2 background. I love Team Fortress 2. I love Dota 2. I think they're both really, really good games. I think Valve has an incredible capacity for making just really compelling multiplayer experiences. I've always enjoyed Counter-Strike, probably more than I actually enjoy playing Counter-Strike. I don't know why. It never has fully clicked for me. But when I first played Deadlock, I said, it's an interesting idea. There's something here. It's definitely not nothing. But I think for the longest time, a lot of developers have been chasing the idea of a shooter MOBA because it's on paper, it sounds great, right? On paper, you go, yeah. Shooter, good. MOBA, good. Chocolate, peanut butter. It should mix, right?
Yeah.
What was the epic one that just sort of like Fortnite just rolled through it?
Paragon?
Paragon.
Because
right?
Paragon died, and then Predecessor is now the new one because they kind of made the assets and tools of that available to people who wanted to do stuff with it. But there was Super Monday Night Combat. There was I forgot about that. Battleborn is arguably a MOBA.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
There are a lot of ones. I actually liked Battleborn quite a bit, but that's
Pokemon
a different story for a
Unite
different day.
is a MOBA.
Yes. Oh, if we want to name MOBAs, I can sit here and name MOBAs. You want to talk about Dawngate?
Let's talk about Awesome
Electronic
Knots.
Arts. Yeah, Awesome Knots. That's a good one. Lord of the Rings, Guardians of Middle Earth. Most people probably forgot that one, but I still remember it.
Yeah.
So I went into Deadlock with too much MOBA experience, and I thought it was interesting but overwhelming and kind of scattered. And so coming back for this update, I was really excited because it had been a while. I wanted to see, okay, they went from 4 lanes down to 3. They've got new characters. They've kind of redone a lot of things. What does it look like now? And the answer is it actually is really good now. I wouldn't say it's the level of, oh my gosh, you need to run out and play this at this moment. But I think if the idea of a shooter MOBA has ever appealed to you, this is probably the best implementation of that idea that I've seen so far. I think the combat feels just right. It is very punishing as a game in the way that I personally like. Coming from Dota, I do like it when you have a lot of power, they have a lot of power, and it's easy for you to like get the upper hand if you have played right, if you have thought correctly, if you have built correctly, you can kind of get the upper hand. But conversely, that means that if a Bebop is, you know, just balling out of control and running the game, then you can't poke your head out because he's going to hook you, he's going to put a bomb on you, he's going to uppercut you, and then you're going to explode. And that's just how the game goes. And I think it's been really enjoyable to see this game evolve, not just from when I first played it to this, but even how the game has evolved within the last couple weeks as they've rolled out these heroes, which there were 6 heroes, and they said, okay, Mina, the vampire, is the first one out. For the next 5, everybody gets to vote. Every time you finish a match, you get a vote. And you can vote on who the next one is. So it stirred up some community stuff of people campaigning. There was a huge campaign for the Doorman because everybody loves the Doorman. And then he came out, and the Doorman might be one of the coolest designs of a MOBA hero that I've seen in a while. He literally has portals from Valve game Portal. Yeah. where he opens a door and then can put a second door up, and it does the portal thing where projectiles, abilities, all kinds of crazy stuff can go through the doors, and even has an ability that throws a luggage cart that carries people with it, and you can luggage cart people through the door and send them out the other side. And his ultimate literally locks you in a jumping puzzle that you have to beat to not die. And it's stuff like that feels wildly inventive and fresh and new and interesting. But the actual game itself is not just novelty. It's a surprisingly well-balanced experience. The lanes feel good. I think 3 lanes is ultimately the right choice for this game. Everything kind of feels very balanced with 3 lanes. Whereas you kind of had some weird, when it was 4 and you have 6 players on each team, how do you divvy that up?
Yeah.
Who's solo, who's duo, that sort of thing. There's not really a jungle.
Too clunky. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this makes more sense for a game and just kind of makes it easier to approach. You say, okay, 2 per lane, easy enough. But there's the urn. There's a lot of objectives to control. I still wish the mini map was a little bit more clear and easier to read. But
yeah, I'm learning it. But yeah, it could be more intuitive.
I even find the character design something that did not initially resonate with me when the game first came out is now really working for me. I love this sort of like pop art horror that it's got going, where you have all of these kind of throwback horror designs. Some of the new characters that came out are very, you know, here's a vampire with this parasol and she kind of floats in the air and throws bats down. And then here's this, I love Victor, who's the newest character. He was the last
I call him Lazarus.
Yeah, you kept calling him Lazarus, which was the craziest poll. But he is a Frankenstein monster who hurts himself to hurt others and can resurrect and has this whole animation where when he dies, his limbs go everywhere and then they slowly reassemble and build him back up. And there's just really cool, inventive things like that feel really fresh. I think it's easy for a lot of, I look at a MOBA nowadays and I'm like, okay, here's a Winston, you know, here it's the same with the Overwatch games where I'm like, you've kind of made the archetypes that
here's our
already
Tracer.
existed. Yeah. Or you play a MOBA, it's like, okay, here's our Ashe, here's our Teemo, here's our Ari. Like, these are our characters. And I like that so far Deadlock, the characters have felt wildly their own. Maybe the most familiar are the ones like McGinnis, who is kind of the TF2 engineer of this game, but even she has a little bit more flavor, a little bit more style to her than just being the engineer.
I really like Infernus, who you play a lot.
Infernus is really cool. I like Infernus, yeah.
He is he's rocking he's a skinny dude rocking a fedora. He looks like he's about to say, "Hello, kitten. Welcome."
Wait,
to Deadlock.
Oh, this is some.
And that's why
Furnace
Eric loves
slander.
him. That's why Eric loves him.
No. This isn't Furnace slander. This guy looks like the bartender at a seedy underground bar where like vampires and werewolves drink. Like, please,
you're right.
Please.
But he's like, his whole thing is like he shoots flames from his finger guns.
Yeah, he has
like
finger guns that he shoots fire out of. And then he like reloads his arm like Henry Cavill in Mission Impossible. It's awesome.
There's just like a lot of really fun character designs. There's one of the new characters that they just introduced is Paige, and she's this support character who she's obsessed with like fantasy books and that sort of thing. And so she's like reading this big tome. She's like a very small character, but carrying this massive tome around that's like half her size, and like summoning dragons and horses.
The animation with the sword, because there's an ability she has that puts a circle on the ground where this sword in the stone rises up and then slams in.
Yeah, and stuns people.
If you watch her animations while she's doing it, if you don't start like shooting and stuff while you're doing it, she actually like reaches down to the book and pulls the sword up and slams it back in. So she is like physically manipulating it, which looks just really cool. And is that thing that I do think Valve is incredibly good at, is those little kind of touches of character that really do sell the, in a multiplayer game, that sell the idea of this is a unique character that has very, characteristics and defining things and like charm to them that I think works super well. I personally, I love Hayes. I think Hayes is probably my favorite to play.
Yeah.
She's maybe the most, what this character does, because she has the sleep dart, she has a cloak, and then her ultimate is just she dances around and shoots bullets everywhere and they ricochet off of everybody, and so you build her.
She's got the Reaper ult.
Yeah, she's got Reaper ult, which you kind of know what that does, but then the actual playing of her ends up being very squirrely, because you almost are playing a bit like Tracer, where you're trying to move fast and kind of pick off people that are straggling, because you can sleep dart them and run up and just kind of Tommy gun them down and then dart back out, because you can't really fight, if a Bebop or a Moe and Krill gets in your face, like big, beefy, tanky dudes. It's going to be hard for you to handle that if there's multiple in front of you. But if it's one-on-one and you've got a good angle and you've got the jump on them, you just mow them down, get out. And it's really, really interesting. It's a fun game. And I found it's got quite a bit of charm, identity. I like seeing Valve create this new IP and really flesh it out like this. So I'm hopeful that Deadlock picks up some steam, especially because as a Dota fan, like Dota has definitely fallen off over the years. I don't think that's strange for anyone to say at this point. I think even most Dota players would say it, that it feels like Dota has lost the shining mandate and is not the favorite child anymore. So I hope the Deadlock picks up some steam and kind of raises the tide in the process.
Yeah, it's I'm really enjoying the new characters. Mina, the Batgirl, Billy the Goat, who's just
Billy the Goat is so fun.
Goat with a giant bat, and he just like gets in your face and rams you.
Spider-Punk if he was a goat. Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about the Doorman and Victor. Drifter, who folks watching the video version of this podcast will be seeing Drifter gameplay. He
popped off.
Yeah, he's like the vampire dude, and he can throw like a dart that does damage over time and then marks people, and he can re-trigger the ability to teleport behind them and then do a lot of damage, especially if there's certain items you can build that allow you to do more damage from behind and like proc things when you are attacking from behind. So it works really well with him, and he's got this cool ability. His ultimate, he like enshrouds this, he essentially like blocks the vision of other players by like enshrouding them in darkness. And when you're on the other side of that, it is like really frightening, because you can only see like a little bit in front of you, and there's just still bullets flying around you, and you don't really know where they're coming from. Deadlock's really in a good place right now. I think it feels great. I'm excited to see how they continue to overhaul and iterate on the game as it gets, closer and closer to launch. I think we're still probably a ways out. Like, it still very much feels, I think, like Eric said, alpha,
I don't
beta.
even know I don't know what their plan is. That's maybe the
Yeah.
weirder part, is that Valve is kind of just doing this based off vibes, which I guess like Valve is allowed to do if they want to, but it is weird.
It's kind of always how they've done it, to be fair. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, even like I remember there's stories about Left 4 Dead coming along and Gabe just kind of being like, let's just release this thing. Let's just put it out there. And the internal team, you know, who now became, was it Turtle
Rock,
Turtle
I
Rock,
think.
Turtle
yeah.
Rock, yeah. Like they were like, no, we would like to work on this for a while, please, Mr. Newell. Like we're not ready to just like put this out in the world, you know?
Yeah,
they're just very experimental over there.
It's interesting watching it come along, and I am curious to see what the release ends up being, because yeah, it's whether they end up just letting this cook in alpha, beta, whatever for however long, or if they start deciding that, hey, you know, it's basically out there now. Like we just turn off the invite thing and then just let everybody start playing it. That could happen one day too. And it could happen like tomorrow. And it would just be like, oh, we decided things are good. I'm just going to flip it open now. And Valve can just do that. They're one of the few companies that can just do that without much, you know, pre-release hype or anything like that. But I do think Deadlock maybe needs a little bit more of a carry, just because it's new IP. It's a new franchise. People aren't going to know it. Even like Deadlock doesn't seem like it's pierced the mainstream yet, you know, like the kind of person who might play League of Legends or Dota might have occasionally heard about Deadlock, but it might not be something that they're intimately familiar with. So maybe there does need to be a little bit of fanfare for it. But I think this update kind of helped with that, because if you play one of those games, or even something like Overwatch, and you start hearing, hey, there's this game and they're releasing 6 heroes over the course of 2 weeks, and you get to vote on who's next every day. Like, oh, that sounds interesting. I should check that out. So worked, I guess. But yeah, we'll see what the launch timeline ends up being. They'll probably just roll it out on a Tuesday, you know?
Yeah, the Valve way.
Yeah.
Well, let's head into our final topic of the show. Kyle, you've had a chance to briefly play Kirby, the new expansion on Switch 2 for Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Is it the Crystal something? Crystal Lands? Is that right?
Great question. I don't know the answer to.
It's kind of a forgettable name. A little bit.
I think it is out. We didn't get early access or anything. Yeah, what is it? This is the Switch 2 content. So like
Star-Crossed World DLC. I don't know why I had Crystal in my head.
Well,
I think I was thinking the crystal
like,
shards. I don't know why I was thinking that.
Yeah, but if you look at like the art, it's all crystals, and it is like crystal based. It's like a meteor hits the world, and it's like you gotta recover the crystals or something. You know, all that important narrative setup that I always pay really close attention to in Kirby games. Yeah, so it's like this is kind of the Mario Party approach recently, where it's like if you don't own this game on Switch 2, you can, or on Switch 1, you can buy it wholesale and you get like the full game, and then it includes this extra content. Or you can put, what I had to do is I had to go find my Kirby and the Forgotten Land Switch cartridge, and then you can we got a code from Nintendo, but you can optionally buy the the upgrade to make it the Switch 2 version, and then it adds a bunch of content. And basically what it is, because I was kind of wasn't sure how it worked, whereas like, is this like DLC that just adds a whole new world or something like that? But what it is it's like you boot up the game and a meteor lands in the world, and it like spreads these crystals around. And so what you do is you actually go to each of the areas from the Forgotten Land, and there's like 2 new levels in each area, which are like heavily remixed versions of previous levels, to the point where they feel totally new.
That's cool.
Like remix makes it sound like simple, but it's like, no, and it's been so long since I played Forgotten Land that it feels I might as well be playing something entirely new.
Yeah.
So it kind of gets like mixed into the larger game. But I really love Forgotten Land. I think it's like easily my favorite Kirby game. I don't think there's like any competition really. I think Forgotten Land is just a really charming, cute, fun, surprising game throughout. And so it's more of it, which is kind of a boring offer in terms of like, what is this thing? But it's like, it's like, I don't know, 10 or so new levels for this great Kirby game. And it's been fun to kind of go back and like, play that game that I really like with new levels. but it does feel like it's like that larger question of like, is it worth it? Because I think it's like $20 to upgrade the game or something like that. I would like to know.
Yeah,
I don't know if
I can
maybe
look that
one
up
of you
while you
guys can
talk.
look it up.
Yeah.
And it's like the answer to that question is like, I'm not sure. It's kind of a big price to like revisit this game that you've probably already played and get like new levels. Kirby's not a challenging game until the last like level. It's always how it is. Like the final boss of Kirby games are always like, we're just gonna make it really hard all of a sudden, which I actually kind of like because it really adds this like weird level of intensity that you're building towards over the course of a Kirby game. And I haven't finished it, so maybe the last couple levels are really challenging, but it has been fun to kind of revisit those levels. But I don't know if it's not like an automatic recommendation.
Sure.
It's not like, it's like one of those things with like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, like especially if you haven't played those games, like the Switch 2 versions like immediately feel better and look better. And it's like, oh, I wish I could have played the game like this, and I'm jealous of everyone who's playing, Breath of the Wild for the first time on Switch 2. That's like a good position to be in. Like, I don't feel that way about this game. Like, this game ran great on Switch 1. It looked great on Switch 1. It still runs great and looks great on Switch 2. And the new levels are cool, but I don't know if it's like you got to drop everything to play new Kirby in the Forgotten Land levels.
Yeah, it is $20 by the way for the DLC. Just to confirm.
So it's $20, yeah. But like if you like skipped the Switch 1 generation for some reason and you're jumping into Switch 2, like Kirby in the Forgotten Land, in my opinion, is the best Kirby game that Nintendo's ever released. So like high recommendation to play Kirby in the Forgotten Land, and then also you get a bunch of extra levels that are good. They're fun to play. Like that's an easy recommendation.
Okay,
Yeah,
that was going to be my question. Was I love 2D Kirby, but I never really got into Kirby in the Forgotten Land. It just passed me by, and so I was like, oh, Switch 2, this might be the time to pick it up. So this is like a good just all together jump in now. It's all great.
You should borrow my
Yeah,
copy when you move here and play through some
there you
Kirby.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like 2D Kirby as well. I think like I reviewed Triple Deluxe and Planet Robobot, and I like those games.
Robobot was
but,
really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's this one, just like the mood of it is like, it's a weird thing to say about a Kirby game, but it's basically like a post-apocalyptic Kirby game that just feels really good to play. Like
I really enjoy the
and,
level, like the biomes and stuff that they take you through as well.
And then also like the gosh, what is it? Where you can turn into a car and stuff like that.
Mode.
Mouthful
mode.
Yeah.
Those are always fun. Like those are significant, and they do change. They'll like it just gives you a little pocket of a level every now and then. That's like this whole section's gonna feel a lot different and it's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
It's like great. I'm always excited when I hit a mouthful mode moment. But yeah, Eric, if you didn't play it but you like Kirby, like absolutely you should steal Alex's copy.
Who doesn't like
you should play
Kirby?
through it.
If you don't like Kirby, that's something to take up between yourself and someone who will listen to you, but not me. Yeah.
I mean, there are Kirbys I don't like. I don't really like.
No. I mean the
Epic Yarn.
character Kirby. Like.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He's
He's like
think
the
it's
most powerful character in all of fiction, according to Smash Brothers Ultimate.
Yeah, but he's also just a little guy. He's just a little guy.
Yeah.
He turns into a little boulder. and then he's
Fantastic
this
character
little-
design.
He makes funny faces.
He's a
he's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's good. You're right. What was I thinking?
Yeah. What are you
He does the little dance when you finish the stages. The
There's never been
how do you
a
not love
Kirby
that?
game that is bad. We'll say that here officially.
Oh,
We'll say that here officially.
I just
from Game
mentioned
Informer. Yeah.
It's called Epic Yarn. I didn't really like Epic Yarn very much. I love the way it looked. I just didn't really like the way it played.
No, I love Kirby. And I have been
I think I
interested in
also-
this DLC. So
I think I also reviewed that claymation one that was like where you draw the platform
yeah.
on the Wii U screen, and there was like a 3DS. There was a DS version of that as well. Don't love those. He doesn't have a 100% hit rate, but personality wise, he's got a 100% hit rate. Is what we're saying.
He's got all the little characters too. He's got Bentonite. He's got Waddle Dee. He's got all the little fun guys with him. Yeah.
yeah, I love Kirby. I want to get a Kirby tattoo actually soon. I feel like it's only right. I feel like
it's like 3 circles. You're good.
I know,
A
right?
sleeve of Kirby's.
That would honestly go hard.
What if it was like all the Kirbys from Smash? It's just all those different variations of Kirby all in one sleeve.
That I like that. Now I'm looking up Kirby sleeve tattoo. Oh
What
yeah,
is the
there's some good
Kirby-
stuff out there. Yeah.
What's the Kirby game where you like controlled like hundreds of Kirbys at a time?
Oh,
Which one was that?
Was it?
It was like a DS game, or was it
Yeah.
Game Boy Advance?
It was
Oh,
DS.
we're not
I
gonna
think.
get it.
God,
There's too many Kirby's.
there are a
There's
lot
too
of
many-
Kirby games.
Yeah.
Also, a Cowboy Kirby. Oh, maybe that'll be my
Aw.
tattoo. I love
We
Cowboy.
love
Kirby.
Cowboy Kirby. Yeah.
Yeah, Kirby's such a
Yeah,
good
Forgotten
character.
Land. Truly, I think is the best Kirby game. I think that's, and I don't think that's like a controversial opinion. Really, I think it's the best Kirby game.
Yeah, it feels like it. I think. I mean,
Yeah.
I love Air Ride. I love some of those old GBA games.
I was gonna say the SNES era games were where I got in because I was playing them on the SNES Classic. I think.
Yeah.
Oh,
there's-
okay.
I think there was that collection of it's like a bunch of different ones like Meta Knight's Revenge and stuff like that you just kind of play
Yeah.
through, and
Yeah.
those have always kind of been re-released over the years, but I always find those are really fun to go back to.
Kirby and the Amazing Mirror might actually be my favorite Kirby game. There's just something about it.
Is that Game Boy Advance? That one,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But
Okay. Yeah.
Forgotten Land is probably better. Or at least like the most fully fledged Kirby game out there, I think.
Yeah. The one that's the most fun to play like today.
Today,
You
yeah.
know?
But I do have a
Yeah.
big soft spot for the Amazing Mirror. And I don't know, that's one of the, usually it's pretty high in the ranked list of Kirby games, but
Oh, and that's on Switch Online. I don't think I've played Amazing Mirror. Maybe
you
I
should.
will.
I love the art in Amazing Mirror. It's got that great GBA pixel art, and it looks
Yeah.
great today on those screens.
I do love that era.
Yeah, I love Amazing Mirror. Well, cool. I think that's gonna be it for the show this week. A little bit shorter. We've got a busy week over here at Game Informer. Yeah, but we appreciate you taking time out of your week to listen to this roughly hour long episode. We are very thankful to be in your ears for that amount of time. So thank you for listening and for your support. Don't forget, if you do want to help us keep the lights on, head over to GameInformer.com/subscribe and pick up a Game Informer print subscription or digital subscription. 10 issues a year. We're going to be we're kind of internally a little inside baseball planning our cool end of year issue that's going to be celebrating the biggest games of the year. But we got a few more cover stories in between now and then that I think are going to be really, really interesting and people are really going to like, I think. So, yeah, consider going to pick up a subscription. Don't forget to follow these gents on social media. You can follow Kyle at Kyle Hilliard. Follow Eric at CMoosi. That's SEAMOOSI. And you can follow me at It's Van Aken. Don't forget to follow Game Informer on whatever social media app of your choice. That's a great way to keep up with what we've got going on over here. And I think that's going to do it for this week. Thank you for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe, like the video. If you're on that podcast app, consider leaving us a rating or sharing it with a friend. All right, we'll see you next week. Goodbye, everybody. Enjoy Silk Song.